Hi, I'm Abby and this is my channel. So today I'm going over my books that I chose that I really want to read in 2020. I picked out 12 books from my shelves that I already owned because I made it a goal to read one book a month that I already own that I've been wanting to read for a while. So in this video I'm going to go over those 12 books that I chose and kind of the reasons why. I didn't assign a book to a month, but I kind of have the first few that I want to read picked out, and I will let you know what those are when I get to them. So without further ado, let's get into the list of books. So the first book that I chose is one I've actually already started. I started in 2019. I read the first chapter, but I never got any further because I put it down and kind of forgot about it when I read a different book. But that book is The Cactus. This is by Sarah Haywood. And I read the first chapter of this, like I said, but I never got further because I put it down and started reading a different book. So I want to finish it in 2020. There was nothing particularly reason why I didn't continue reading it. It's just I got busy with other things and other books. And so I want to finish this. It is a book that was chosen by the Reese Witherspoon Book Club. So apparently it's sort of good. Other than that, I don't know too much about this book, but I own it. I started reading it. Now it's time to finish it in 2020. So I think this will be one of the first books that I pick up in 2020 to read. The second book that I kind of want to read early in 2020 is Educated by Tara Westover. My mom read this and raved about it, and I've heard many other people on YouTube and Instagram and stuff rave about this book. So I'm very anxious to read it. This will probably be my January read, even though I didn't assign books to months. It's one of the ones I really want to read, and so it'll probably be January's pick. So I'm really excited to delve into this and hear more about the story. I've heard it's very interesting about her life. It is a memoir that she wrote about her childhood. So this is one of the books I hope to read early in 2020. So the third book I picked out is The Children of Blood and Bone. I picked this up sometime last year, I think, and I've heard that the next novel is coming out, so I really should read this one before I go and buy that. And I've heard fantastic things about this book, that it's really great and loved, and so I can go get the next one. I really need to read the first one first. Another book that I picked out for 2020 is The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer. I think it's how you say her last name. I've had this book for a while. I know it's on my bookshelves because it's very bright and colorful, and the story sounds catchy and interesting, but I'm not exactly sure what this novel is about. But I've owned it. I should read it. It still interests me from the cover of what the story's about, so hopefully I'll like it and I'll read it in 2020. I don't know if this will be an early novel or not that I get to, but I'm hoping to read it this year in 2020. The next book I chose on my shelves is actually one I bought pretty recently because it came out recently, but last year I read The Night Circus finally, even though that came out in 2011, I think. The author Erin Morgenstern finally came out with another book. It's called The Starless Sea, and I picked it up at an airport in November, I think, and I really want to read it since I loved The Night Circus last year. So even though this is technically a new one to my shelves, I really want to read it in 2020 early, just because I loved her writing in the Night Circus, so I figured this will probably be very similar, and it will be a good read that I'll probably get through quickly in 2020. So the next book I chose, I actually chose because my mom also read it and really liked it and figured I would like it too. I picked it up in the airport while I was in England. So I have the UK edition of it, and the book is Eleanor Elephant is Completely Fine. Usually it has a different cover, it's blue and stuff, I think. For the American version, but this is the UK version. As I said, I picked it up in a airport while I was in England. I think the Leeds airport. I was just sitting in for a couple hours, so I browsed books. And like I said, my mom read this and really enjoyed it, and I've heard other people who really liked it. I think it's been part of multiple book clubs. So I've had it for a while, so I need to get to reading it this year in 2020. So yeah, and I really like this cover kind of more than the American versions that I've seen, so I'm kind of glad I picked this up while I was in the UK. The next book I picked up, I bought like halfway through 2019, I think. This is one I saw a lot on Instagram with a couple of bookstagrammers that I follow. This is less a novel and more like a life help, life organization type book. The book is called 12 Rules by Jordan B. Peterson. I've heard a lot about this. I've read similar books like this for kind of like rules for life, guides for life. And I've always find them very interesting and kind of like to compare them and such. So I'm interested to read this one. I've heard people who really like it and kind of the concepts it teaches. Hopefully I can put it into my life a little bit. But it helps calm chaos. The antidote to chaos is what it says. I wouldn't say my life is too chaotic, but it never hurts to make it less chaotic. So I'm excited to read that one. The next book I picked out is also one I picked up from hearing about it on Instagram. It sounds like a super interesting story. It's all about how this guy controlled his mind to like really get things done within his life. And it's called Cant Hurt Me by David Goggins. And it's his journey to getting to like all these high positions or really tough positions in life within the Navy, I think is what he's in. But it's about how he controls his mind and uses his mind to, you know, get these great accomplishments done. And so I'm interested to read it and learn kind of like what he did and his guidance for other people maybe. And I've just heard it's a really interesting story about his life and how he overcame all this stuff. So I'm really interested to read that. The next book I picked out, I bought, I want to say sometime last year. It's also on the Reese's Witherspoon's Book Club choice. It says it right on the cover here, and it's called The Whisper Network by Chandler Baker. You can see it was picked by Reese. I don't know a lot about this story, but it was picked for her book club, so it must be a little bit good. So I figured I would read it this year, and I don't know much about it, honestly. But it's a nice cover. I like the cover. And I think it's, from the basis of what I read on the like synopsis, it seems like a very women empowering book. Who knows? But it's on my list to read in 2020. This next book isn't really a novel per se. It's the largest book I have picked out for 2020. But I'm really interested to read it. Lately I've been reading a lot of like poetry and letters, kind of like people writing. And so the next one I picked up is All the Best by George Bush. And it's basically a collection of his letters throughout his life, including his presidency and just a kind of a different side of the president. I've heard some of them are really great. And so I'm excited to read it. It's definitely a hearty book. I don't know when I'll get to this, but I am looking forward to reading this one. I'm excited to read kind of like his letters and his writing outside of just kind of like within his personal life and stuff. So I think it will be interesting. The next book is actually kind of an older book that I just finally found at a used bookstore. I've been looking for it for a while. It has been made into a movie already, and I loved the movie. I've seen the movie, so I finally want to read the book because, you know, books are better than movies. But the book is Brooklyn. If you've seen the movie, it's a really great movie. I highly suggest it. But it's by Colm Tobin. I have no idea how I say his name, but there it is. It was named the best book of the year. I read that on the back there. So I'm really interested to read this, see how it's different or the same as the movie. I really enjoyed. And I kind of know the basis of the story. I might read this earlier in the year because it is the smallest book I picked out. On my last book of the year that I want to read, that is on my to be read list in 2020. I've had on my shelves for a while. I think the cover is absolutely beautiful. I don't know anything about the story though. And it is My Absolute Darling by Gabriel Talent. I really love this cover. I think it's really pretty. I've had this on my shelves for a while. I don't remember when I bought it. I don't even know if I read the synopsis, but I want to read it finally. So that is my last book of 2020 that I want to read out of the 12 that I picked. So there you have it. Those are 12 books that I want to read in 2020 that I picked from my shelves that I already owned. I'm sure there are many that will come out within the year or that came out last year that I'll just hear about, that I'll want to read and get into. But those are the 12 that I'm trying to commit to read this year. If you have read any of these books, please comment down below how you liked them, what you thought about them. Like this video if you plan on reading any of these books also. Don't forget to subscribe, and because I'll go over these books eventually, how I liked them, what I thought about them. I'll do reviews on them in later videos. So you can be around to see those and see how I thought about them. Or you can find me on Goodreads. I think there's a link posted. I'll post it down below if I can find a link of my profile for Goodreads. You can follow me and see how I rate them on there. Also, let me know what books you're reading. Maybe I will look them up and see if I want to add them to the list I want to read in 2020. And then until next time, if you want to be someone, why not be you? And have a great day. Bye.